Greetings, Dr. Jeffrey Scott here. This is my Market MRI Pro update for September 29th, 2025. I titled this one End of Quarter Window Dressing. It was an interesting day for me. I got up at 3:30 CST, which is a long time ago, or not CST, PST, for a 6 o'clock flight out of San Francisco that got delayed, missed connections, and I literally just got home on the East Coast at 11 p.m. And of course, my luggage didn't come with me. But c'est la vie, I'm home. Um, Took one trade on the plane. It was kind of cool being free during the day to make trades. Talk about why I took the trade. And had I not looked at the indices, I would have thought the market was big up on all the indexes. And I think what happened is I'm in a lot of the leaders, and I think we're starting to pile into the leaders into the end of the month so people can make their portfolios look like they were in AppLovin and Iron and others Hood all quarter. So it was a strong day for the leaders. I call that window dressing, and the month ends. And who would have thought we'd see a September to remember to the upside? Wow. Again, Jeffrey Scott, marketmripro@gmail.com. Google Group is Top Down Trader. This is for educational purposes only. It's any recommendations in the sphere of education, not investment advice. The intent of the videos demonstrate the tools of top-down analysis and how I apply them. Trading involves risk. You are solely responsible for any investment decisions you make. I may own or intend to buy or sell any stock mentioned in this report. Trading stocks and options should be considered risky, and you should always consult with your financial advisors. And I've got tools in multiple platforms, and so excited that I'll get to be part of the MetaStock family of add-ons soon as well. My Google Group's called Top Down Trader. It's free. It's where I post my videos when I don't post them on YouTube. It's every night I'll send out a letter, email once I post my video, as long as I post one, and I'll do some private mentoring for the Top Down Trader group, which I won't promote on YouTube. Now, of course, if I have something coming up that I'm trying to get attendance to, like my live meeting or I'm launching a product, I'm going to go broad and I'm going to do a lot on YouTube. But most of the time, no, not so much. Speaking of something coming up, my Florida meeting is October 26th and 27th outside Palm Beach in Palm Beach Gardens, 15 minutes from PBI. I got a good deal in a hotel. You don't need a car. You don't need to buy any food when you're here because I'm going to get you fat on Sunday and Monday, take you out of my boat Sunday night. And I am so hyped and pumped to do this program, this presentation, because I've added a lot of things to what I've done before. I spent this week with bunch of old friends and new friends out in San Francisco at the Bay Area Joint Meetup annual event. Got a heavy dose of canceling with Michael Webster there live. What a great guy, Charles Harris, Amy Smith. Just a really great crew among others, Mike Scott, Lee Tanner, so many I can't even mention all their names because there were a lot of short presentations by people in the audience. But it's a great time to catch up with old friends and to refresh what I started with, which is canceling. And I think I'm going to bring back some because that's where Ian started. And I think I'm going to build a whole presentation now, adding to the canceling basis and then leading into what Ian did, and then how I won't say improved it, it's improved it for me. I will say how I made it more applicable to what I want to do. And you'll get a lot more out of that 2 days than you'll get out of all my videos for the whole year. I can tell you that. It's not free, can't be free. I'm paying for food and hotel space. October 26th and 27th, Marriott Palm Beach Gardens, 2 days of packed education and software. Cost is $12.50, includes breakfast and lunch on Sunday and Monday, dinner cruise on my yacht on Sunday night, pocket yacht. Marriott full service is $155 a night. And for more information, just reach out to me at marketmripro@gmail.com. If you attend, the minute you pay in a virtual account that I have, you'll get a $400 rebate triggered that you can use on the tool or any of my other products that I can control cost. And if you don't spend it, you want to use it in next year's Palm Beach meeting, that's fine too. Um, and then if you really want to get educated and really learn from another master, a real master. John Person has his 2 days before. His are Friday and Saturday, October 24th and 25th. I'll be there on Saturday, and then I'm the 26th and 27th of Sunday and Monday. And hopefully we'll be launching John's add-on for our app at that meeting. Not hopefully, we will. So last week was a week of Fed heads, and they talked the markets up and down with their thoughts on future rates. We saw that today with several of them. We got Philip Jefferson at 6 a.m. on Eastern time tomorrow. We got the home, Case-Shiller home. We got some business PMIs, job openings, confidence. Confidence could be a zinger. Um, if we come in low on September confidence, that's not good for the markets. And then we got ADP coming on Wednesday. Not a whole lot of earnings to talk about tonight. We are going to start the next quarter of earnings season shortly. And as I say in the lower right, it's a judgment call to hold stocks over earnings dates. And it's a bad judgment to not know when your stock's earnings date is scheduled. For more information, Market MRI Pro, reach out to me at marketmripro@gmail.com. For any technical issues, reach out to Praveen at coding@marketmripro.com and consider joining our top-down group. Um, you know, where are we at in this market? Are we topping? I talked about signpost of a top. I'm watching, but you got to trade the market we have. And my market indicators have been telling me to be long. Am I worried that we're getting frothy? Do I think there'll be a pullback at some point? Absolutely. I don't think it's a big correction coming, at least not until next year, and especially if we see the economy slow down. So you got to be long. But more importantly, got to be long in the right stocks. See you in Florida in October. On to the charts. Let's go to the daily briefing very quickly. Bitcoin, another super strong day, up 4.89%. Volatility was up. The major market ETFs, despite, like I said, the leaders had a great day, but the ETFs kind of lagged. The winner was the Qs at 0.46. Spider at 0.28, Diamond at 0.16, and the Russell at 0.12. And the only one that was really above, the top third was the Diamonds. And the dollar was down 22 cents. The new highs minus new lows at 52 weeks on the NYSE and the NASDAQ both picked up as you'd expect on a little bit stronger day. If we look at one-day change in the markets, you could see on the S&P 500 at least, all the sectors were positive except for energy, but none of them were that positive. The leaders were tech, financials at 50.5% and discretionary at 0.4. It's almost like the market was sleeping. But boy, if you own the right stocks, you had a big day. Marijuana led again. I'm not excited by it. These are cheap stocks, and I've been burned before, but I know some people are making money on it, hoping that the Trump White House laxes the laws around banking and legality. Blockchain, copper, China internet, fintech, social media, clean tech, lithium continues to be strong. And you'll notice where we had weakness even on the leaders, there's some really big movers underneath. Gold and silver remain strong as well. Now, what I don't like is when you look at the number of positive sectors, they came down significantly on each of the major indexes here. So these are the sectors and industry groups by index. The industry groups came down from Friday. And if you look at participation, 45%, 46, and 44, in each of the major indexes, more stocks were down or flat than they were up. So that super strong day that I felt really wasn't. What it was the leaders doing well. And just to give you a sense, I'm in my biggest positions are IREN, GLD, Hood, LABU, Microsoft, Baidu, a small company called Solaris Energy SCI, AGX, and Amazon, and IBIT. The position I entered today was Datadog, and we'll talk about why in a few minutes. I'm short Costco, and I'll probably cover that. Actually, the puts end up going away at the end of this week anyway, so I may cover them sooner than later. So those are some of the big stocks. Now I wish I was still in app, and I've been in and out of app, but I just never. That's a stock I should have never sold. But leaders led the same leaders that have been leading for the ever since that April 7th low that I called and put out a webinar and put out on YouTube that was the bottom. If we go and we look at the timing model, and this is what I have to follow. Green means be long, red means short. So the short-term trend, daily trend is long, 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 and long. So that tells me I need to be long this market. The weekly trend takes a second. There's a lot of data that we're calculating. All right, the weekly trend, whoops, sorry about that, is pretty darn green across the board. And you could see that even the weekly model, although it didn't fire until May 12th, you've been in the market long ever since that, except for a couple of weeks early on in the Russell. So weekly, I'll tell you without going there, the monthly, they're all long. And if you look at the daily, and when did it go long? It's been in and out, but this rally started in April. So let's go back to April. And the daily signal was April 24th when we took out the WMA. So it has kept me, the weekly has kept me in almost since that date. So timing model says be long. Let's take a look at the index ETF. So it's late. I'm jet overtired from the jet. So let me just comment on what I see here. Not a bad looking day. It looks like you got a doji on the spiders, a doji looking bar on the Qs, a little bit more of a bottoming tail on the diamonds, and kind of a closing in the lower part of the day, but still up day on the Russell. None of them look particularly scary. The seasonality, we're done. We're through the week seasonality. Look at the seasonality lines. Of course, now we'll have our sell-off. We remain, look at the dailies did over on Thursday last week. They pulled on Friday, they pulled into the 17 days, our first target. I love it when moving averages work. I think they still look great. Do I think we could pull back to the 17 again or even the 50? Yes, 4 or 5%. Who cares? Nothing. I just don't see us breaking down. I think we're at higher highs at the end of the year. And October is a mixed month. But boy, when the first 3 quarters are strong, the last quarter is strong over 80% of the time. It's up. If we look at volatility, volatility was up 5% today, sort of an inside bar, but a big move up, taking out the 50. Maybe that should make me worry. And the dollar, which teased us with a breakout above this line here, actually closed below it, down in the lower part of its range. If we look at commodities, they have been super strong. They are still strong. Look at this. Gold setting another high today. When did I say to buy gold? I said to buy gold down here when it broke out of that multiple tops. And that's when I bought my GLD. And I wish I would have bought a whole lot more, to be honest with you. I bought 30 calls and they've done good, but I wish I had more. Silver is not at an all-time high, but also super strong. Oil, a big shooting star on this trend line resistance. That's probably bearish looking. Natural gas trying to break above the 50. That would be interesting if it can. And then the 10-year up a little bit, which surprised me because I heard how strong the auctions were today. And let's just make sure that that's really today's. It's not. Oh, Jeffrey. Let me just make, let's go down to 50 bars. So I heard correct. You can see it 10 years down a bit. Sorry about that confusion, down 1%. And the 30-year also down. So weak dollar, weak 10-year, weak 30-year, end of month window dressing, markets are coasting, especially the leaders. If we look at the buckets, they're not all the same in that when you look at the NYSE and the 1500 and the Russell 2000, The one that worries me is the Russell 2000 because it's got 13% below, but 13 is not 20 and it's not 30. It's not a signal. But all three of these are weighted towards the bottom part of the Bollinger Bands, where you can start to see some of the NASDAQ, probably the larger caps in the NASDAQ, are actually starting to peck up in the higher range. So strength is probably more in the NASDAQ than the others. Chakra, you already know that. Market breadth, you kind of could say we've broken out of a flag in this uptrend, and therefore we should retrace 70% of the uptrend. I don't know, probably too much to ask for, but I think we have broken out of the flag. We'll see if we go on and test the old highs. Wouldn't be surprised. This is the NYSE. Over here is the NASDAQ. On my other computer, let me do what I always forget to do first, which is sign into MarketSmith. And just look at their volume. I got to pick something to be my source of truth. So I use MarketSmith for that. NASDAQ was up 6% volume, NYSE 5%. I'd say average volume. Haven't dropped off any of those distribution days. And it's interesting, it doesn't seem like the market's that worried about the government shutdown. Saying that, we'll see what tomorrow brings. So even though we were up on the NYSE and the NASDAQ, notice the stocks above the moving averages are still trending down. That's a divergence. The fact that only half the stocks were participating when the indexes were up, that's a divergence. New high, new low, still green, AD lines negative, that's a divergence. Up, down volume positive, and none of our special sauce woody indicators firing underneath. And if I look at the market breadth with the new high, new lows, 81%, 63, 69, and 62, there's no signals there. And you still got some negative divergences. You look at the AD line of the NASDAQ, it's still going down, and NASDAQ's going up. So, I mean, there's a lot of these, I called them signposts over the weekend of potential tops. So let me just pull that up real quickly and show you what I'm talking about. We've been in an uptrend for some time. We have confirmed hindering omen signals, but they're now over 30 days old. They're starting to be less impactful. We have seen divergences in the NYSE AD line. Lots of stock divergences when I do my stock finder. 13-week new high, new low have come off the highs. Large caps are certainly leading. Buckets have not shifted to the right. We're stuck on 4 distribution days for both the S&P and the NASDAQ. Haven't had any 4% days of late. We had a lot of breakout failures, so that was concerning, and we're not having any of the Eon signs. So I'd say it's a mixture, so I don't think I actually see any obvious evidence of a top here. Okay. Now, let's go back and let's go look at the ratio charts. Before I say that, so where is my mind? I'm long. I think it's incredibly difficult to short this market. You could probably short it every day for the next month, and 1 or 2 of those days you're going to look like a hero and the market will drop for a few days. I just don't know when that happens. Right now, I'm holding on. I'm trying to play the leaders, probably take some profits every day. I did put in some on Datadog I mentioned earlier, and you can see technology and communications are certainly continuing to lead these markets. The JAS layout, if I go into the top down side, we're back above 3,800 stocks, market stronger. Just like we saw, but not exactly the same. Most of the sectors are up. Energy, financials, and real estate were down. The only one down significantly was energy. And if we look at communications, technology, and healthcare, there's a lot of stocks, 1538, and we just go percentage wise and rank the industry groups and take the top 10. Well, we know electronic arts drove this one. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Probably actually drove Friday more than today, but it's raising the whole sector as people are thinking buyouts are coming. 863 stocks in the top 10 industry groups in the top 3 sectors. So let's make our life easier. Let's go ahead and filter at $5 and 500,000 shares, drops us to 400. Let's rank them by percent. One way to look at it is just take a look at the ones that led today. Enta, something happened there. I might want to look at the news. Did they have an approval, positive thing, special call? I have no idea what they talked about. 347. Now you can click on this, bring up the article, and you can read the transcript. Positive top line results in RSV HR. That's RSV is a big problem in high risk adults and children. So that's a pretty big story. Could benefit from trial design change. So even though the trial says here wasn't perfect, a lot of interest in that. Don't know enough about the company, so that's why I buy LABU. APLM, again, I don't know how to trade this. It's already had a big run. TNFA, look at the healthcare stocks moving. Again, this is why I'm in LABU. Score, big, yeah, CPR, EMS flipped, a gap volume, breakout momentum out of the squeeze, massive relative strength at OBV. Cheap stock, don't know anything about it. Was there news? Pivotal recapitalization transaction with preferred stockholders. So they got liquid again. Again, is that a reason to buy somebody? I don't know enough about them to say it, so I probably say no, but maybe it is. DWTX, Dogwood Therapeutics. Here's another takeout, MRUS. ACB is a cannabis stock. Um, you know, I think when a cannabis, you got to go and look at weeklies. And you know what I said about cheap stocks, they weren't always cheap. And the reason why that 200's up there is because there's been a lot of negative splits on the stock. How do you get excited on a pattern that looks like that? Yes, someday it's going to move. It's got all the signals. Not for me. OKRA. Now, if I want to find a nice pattern to go into, here's a steady uptrend. We're pull back to the 50 and a breakout, decent volume, same constellation as CPR gap volume breakout momentum out of a squeeze. Look at that relative strength at OBV. This one gets me interested. I'd come back here and it must be an IPO because I don't have any fundamentals. Let's look at a weekly. I can't tell if it's an IPO to October 20. It's just sometimes when I see the big space between these, but I don't know if that's an IPO or not. But something's happening there. That chart doesn't get me very excited, by the way. Um, this does, the current movement. So I might go see the news. Private placement, positive interim phase one results. So again, read the news, see what's driving it, and decide if it's something you want. Um, BREA, Communication Services. I hate this pattern. Sometimes it works. So often you get these big story stocks, they come back and they never go there again. But this one's moving nicely. I might want to look further at that. So I might start this way. Another thing I like to do is look at the 2-day momentum, which is the FM2. This is not the 2-day momentum signal. It's just looking at 2-day momentum and having the ones with most of the momentum come to the top. And there is EA. And you could see it didn't do much today, but it did a lot on Friday. APP. Is this a topping tail? I mean, is this going to go into is this a climax run? Is it over? That's what's kept me out of it. If I can get this thing back down to 50 and you get your opportunities, you got to buy. But right now, I look at where that high jump is. It's at 100%. I'm not sure I'm chasing it here. And SanDisk, another superstar, gave you a pullback opportunity and broke out today. Cure has recent approval. It's a gene therapy. They make me nervous because they're super expensive and they haven't really been that successful commercially. They're great scientifically. I'm not talking about Cure, I'm talking about in general. Um, MicroStrategy had a big move, the Bitcoin, but it's still well below the 200. So again, I'm going to take a look at stocks from a top-down perspective. So I've done the top-down. I also like to do bottoms up. When I do bottoms up, I approach it a little bit differently. In the bottoms up, I'll take my impulse list, which is that, let's clear the filters for now, that 3,800 stocks. Let's put on a filter for $5, 500,000 shares. Let's put a pullback at an uptrend, which has some requirements on the bongos. And then let's put in, just hit that, drop it down to 380. Let's rank it by my impulse indicators. Let's just go through quickly and see if any of them look interesting. Score, come on, score. The one that broke out looks interesting, but I don't know enough about it, and that's kind of interesting. That, all right, stop moving. God, my mouse is so sensitive. Um, Orca, that was a healthcare stock that I thought looked good, except the long-term chart was ugly. GSK changed CEO today. So what am I looking for? I'm requiring that the weekly bongo, which is on the bottom, has got to be blue, meaning that the longer term direction is an uptrend. And to show a pullback, it had to switch from red to blue within the last 9 bars. Here's your pullback. This actually looks kind of interesting. I might pull this down and say, what does the fundamentals look like? It pays a dividend of 4%, 4.44. I like that. PE is teeny weeny. It's got earnings per share growth. It stubbed its toes in February. It's got not much revenue growth, but it's positive mostly. Um, Gets big recent revenue surprise and earnings surprise. GSK might not be bad. Maybe a new CEO is going to change things. Here's the cannabis stock we don't like. I don't like THS too far down in its path. And what I'm really screening for here in the impulse indicators are momentum, breakouts, volume, gap, and the CPR. And then I'm looking for the relative strength to trade over its moving average and OBV. Um, and these are not the same things that I saw at the meeting in San Francisco. Maybe next year they'll let me talk. Miras is that takeout, Mira Digital. So you're going to see all the Bitcoin plays. Probably had a good day today. Bitcoin has been up for the last, had been down, had a massive move today. And you could see Mira was up 2.53. KNSA as another beautiful looking trend. Pharmaceutical company, again, do your own research. But this is what got me interested. July 29th, earnings, massive earnings per share growth. And you know what? Pretty massive revenue growth. I take this, I find the 11 here. You're going to have 31 cents versus a loss of 18 cents. I think that one looks interesting going into earnings. Here is Hood. I mentioned Hood had a great day today. Here's your pullback. That's the red bongo. Hood looks great here. How far does it go? I don't know, but look at the earnings per share growth. Look at the revenue growth. It's got high PE, but I'd pay that with a stock that's growing like this. So that's how I attach the market. Here's Riot. This is another one of the Bitcoin plays, blockchain plays, MicroStrategy. There's a host of them. And then you have companies that like IREN, which is kind of a riot and scary because I still have a big position in it. Where REN, which was a Bitcoin play, and if you think about Bitcoin miners, and this is an Australian company, what do they have to do? They have to have massive amounts of power generation to do Bitcoin mining. What happens? Who else needs massive amounts of power? Data centers. So they've rolled into a data center company. Look at the earnings per share growth, it's just absurd. Look at the revenue growth, it's absurd. Doesn't pay a dividend. I think the stock can go a lot higher. And like I said, I am in it, so I'm talking my book, so I let you know that. So lastly, and I think this is going to show you the data dog. I got on the plane. I'm not happy. Why am I not happy? because I thought I'd be home for dinner with my lovely wife. I didn't get home until 10 o'clock, which could have questioned, why am I doing a video at 11 o'clock? Um, Pissed off because the reason my flight was delayed 3 hours and I would have missed my connection because a flight attendant called out sick, and in the entire city of San Francisco, American can't find another flight attendant. So we waited 3 hours. I had to rebook through Charlotte. My bags went to Miami, including my fancy double monitor, which got everybody excited, the Monduo monitor at the IBD meeting, and hopefully I'll get my bags back tomorrow. Here's my real secret weapon. Go price and volume and hit this 2-day momentum up. That signal is my go-to signal. And the reason why I bought Datadog, because I fired up the computer. I had looked at it over the weekend and said, ooh, it's breaking its trend line. And then I noticed at the open, it had double dots. I said, I'm entering Datadog. That was already about halfway up that bar. So I didn't get into it cheap. So I entered Datadog. That was my big position. But I have found that this list has been my go-to list. So very quickly, let's just look at them. Alcoa. CNX and Alcoa looked interesting over the weekend. Big pullbacks. This was the bar that got me interested. Further move today. ARQT, biotech, shocker, but this one's not too extended. Maybe, let's see. Nope, you can buy this thing here, not too extended. AUGO, I don't know anything about it. It's probably a gold play. BCAX, biotech, don't know anything about it, but broke out above the 200. I'd still rather play LABU. CMS is a utility. The utilities have been moving. Pullback, breakout, and these two blue dots in a row. Datadog I already showed you. Um, these two dots, which they had back here, have been positive signals in the past. And that's why it gets my attention. Garmin, again, I looked at it over the weekend. I drew the line over the weekend. I could have bought this one, same as Datadog. Two dots here, out of a squeeze, relative strength popping, and a clean breakout. Hyatt, looked at this over the weekend, and it too had a second blue dot today. IPG, um, pull back and breaking out, got your two dots. JFB, construction, don't know this from Adam. Big gap up. I do some research. Lens Therapeutics. Again, I don't know anything about what they do. I like the nice, trend. It's one that can be maintained. It's not in a climax run. Two dots in a row. MAR, Marriott's. Two sideways for me to comment. MUX, man. MUX showed up on my screen right here. And I looked at it and I said, well, I've already got Eldorado. I got GLD. Do I need another gold play? Well, I should have heeded those two blue dots because that turned out to be a darn good day to buy MUX. NUVL, Nuvalent, looks like it's trying to move here. OMC, Omnicom, again, breaking above the 200, been in a downtrend for a long time. That's why there's so much distance between the 200 and the price. Two dots in a row. Oric, same thing. Plymouth, real estate, I always look to see the dividend they pay. 5.44. I don't know anything about this. Is this Reynolds Rep? Another aluminum play, aluminum foil. It's already in an uptrend. Here's your little pullback, and it's breaking above the 200. Again, I'm not a consumer staples kind of guy, but if the market's pulled back, it's a place to be. Red Rock Resorts, another one that I looked at over the weekend. Why did I look at it over the weekend? Because it was peeking its head above this line. Nice up 10, pull back to the 50, free parking. I could have bought this one today. Does this one pay a dividend? 4.34%. VRDN, Viridian Therapeutics. So many healthcare stocks are moving. Biotech, pharma, specialty pharmacy. I don't know anything about it. Love the pattern, nice gradual uptrend, a little bit steeper than the others. Got the double momentum. And then here's another one. And oh, by the way, this one failed. This one gave the double dots back here, and then it took a while for it to break out. Um, there you go. That is a bunch of stocks. So what's my message? I like Datadog still. I like Garmin. I like that MUX. All those look great. And I think we're going higher. Be careful. There's no guarantees. This is not investment advice. I'm really good at giving chemotherapy and know how to treat cancer. That I can give advice for. Here, I'm just showing you how I use my tools. And there, with me blabbering for 35 minutes, we looked at top-down review of the market. We identified some strength in stocks. And I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday. And I plan on doing this earlier tomorrow night. Thanks, everybody. Come to my meeting. We're starting to fill up. I'm going to cap it at 12 because I can't take more people on my boat. Take care. The rest will be online. We've already got a growing number of online folks.